Since I'm getting remarried, you'll need to move out. The $55,000 loan will be covered by my new partner," he said, his voice dripping with irony. Years of painstakingly working to pay off that loan left me stunned by his audacity to shift the burden onto his new wife. "Then, I guess the $5,000 monthly payments will be your responsibility now," I replied, making clear the true amount I had been shouldering all along. "Sign the divorce papers without delay," I continued, "and just leave. Whatever comes next, even if it's hell, doesn't matter to me anymore." I'm Meg Smith, a 41-year-old housewife who works part-time. My husband Mike is 3 years older than me, and we've been married for 10 years. We first met while working at the same company. Back then, I was deeply engrossed in my career and had little interest in marriage or romance. However, after turning 30, a colleague who was contemplating going independent persuaded me to switch jobs. Just as I was starting to settle into my new role, Mike, a senior colleague from my old company, confessed his love for me. From the start, my relationship with Mike, who was in his mid-30s, was viewed through the lens of marriage. However, 2 years later, we tied the knot, largely due to pressure from those around us. My in-laws were incredibly supportive, treating me like their own daughter, which allowed me to continue working without concerns. A year after our marriage, we built a house that reflected our dreams and desires. Although it was a significant investment, we secured a loan with a manageable repayment plan. This major purchase solidified our commitment to supporting each other. For the first 2 years, we lived as a typical working couple. However, in our 3rd year of marriage, as we began contemplating starting a family, Mike dropped the bombshell that he wanted to leave his job to start his own business. He had always dreamed of launching his business before turning 40 and had been quietly building his network and saving money. While the future of his venture was uncertain, his resolve was unwavering. By the time I discovered his plans, he had already resigned from his job. I felt disheartened by the lack of communication between us, especially since he seemed to assume that my income alone would cover our needs. Shortly after Mike launched his business, my father-in-law fell ill and was hospitalized. It became clear that returning to his previous lifestyle was no longer feasible, and his home would need extensive renovations for his post-discharge needs. Although my in-laws insisted they could manage on their own, Mike decided that our family would cover all the expenses. I wanted to support my in-laws as much as possible, so I agreed to help, but covering the entire cost was a different story. Our household expenses surged, and I was left bewildered. Our income simply couldn't sustain such a large financial burden. Mike's business was struggling, with frequent contract cancellations and few new opportunities. His income had dwindled to nearly nothing, and I was left to handle all living expenses and loan payments with my salary. Despite being nearly unemployed, Mike remained indifferent to our financial strain, dismissing my concerns and treating the situation as if it were someone else's problem. Our credit card bills began to soar as Mike frequently went out drinking, claiming it was for client relations. Faced with the possibility of spending our lives just paying off loans, I suggested we either sell the house or shut down the struggling business. Mike dismissed my proposals, insisting, "We're not on the brink of ruin. This is a time to endure." The only reason we were managing it all was because of my salary, and I was the one bearing the brunt of our financial strain. Mike couldn't grasp this reality. Eventually, I felt it was pointless to discuss anything with him as long as payments were made on time. As the situation dragged on, our daily conversations dwindled. I knew Mike was spending time with other women under the guise of work, but I had become indifferent to him. One day, after returning from work, Mike finally spoke to me after a long silence. With a smirk, he waved a piece of paper in front of me and said, "I've decided to divorce you. Please sign here." I took a deep breath and responded calmly, accepting both his words and the divorce papers. It was likely because I had been contemplating proposing a divorce myself if he hadn't acted first. "Can we wait a moment? I just got home. Let's discuss this in the living room," I suggested. "I thought you wanted to talk, but now you're rushing me," he asked, his tone irritated. "I don't need any unnecessary conversation, just get it over with," he snapped back. Deliberately took my time moving to the living room, sensing Mike's growing impatience. I resented how everything was unfolding on his terms and decided to prolong the moment a bit longer. Regardless, the decision to divorce was made. The days we had spent together in the house we built with so much care were coming to an end. I wanted to savor these final moments at my own pace. As I settled on the sofa, I picked up the divorce papers once more. They seemed flimsy compared to the marriage registration we had signed a decade ago, possibly reflecting my current state of mind. How long are you going to just stare at them? Mike asked, his tone edged with irritation. I have a question. What are your plans after the divorce? What do you mean? What am I going to do? Are you saying you're having second thoughts about the divorce? I'm going through with the divorce, but can we at least have a brief conversation before it's finalized? I'm planning to remarry, after all. Remarrying, huh? So there's someone else. She must be young, attractive, and financially successful, unlike me, an old lady who didn't even have children with you. So you're planning to take advantage of her next. Take advantage of her? What do you think of me? I'm simply laying out the facts. I've always handled the finances and you never had to worry about payments. Yet you act so superior. I can lead a better life without someone like you. The divorce is actually a favor for me. Sure. I'll brush off your bitter remarks as the ramblings of someone who's lost. Maybe I should have said more. Keep talking. The divorce is final, and I won't have to see your face much longer. So please move out by the end of the week. I'm leaving today. I can't stand hearing your voice any longer. By the way, does your new girlfriend know about the loans you're carrying? Of course she does. She's agreed to contribute $500 a month for living here. It's no big deal for her. She won't struggle with the loan payments like you did. Understood. After signing the divorce papers, I decided to leave with my belongings already packed. I'll leave the remaining furniture behind as part of the asset division. Dispose of it if you don't need it. Just go. And best wishes to your new girlfriend. Handling a $5,000 monthly loan payment will be challenging, but good luck. By the way, I've left a note detailing the loan information for her. With a smile, I handed Mike the note, got into my car, and drove away from my former home. I headed straight to City Hall to submit the divorce papers. I hadn't felt this relieved in a long time and thought I should have divorced sooner without worrying about him managing the loan payments. A week after the divorce, one morning, I received multiple calls from my ex-husband Mike. Though I had anticipated this, it was still quite irritating. I decided to address it and answered one of his calls. Yes, what do you want? I wouldn't be calling if it weren't important. That's quite rude, but is it true about the $5,000? I have no reason to lie. You're expecting me to cover your debt. I sighed deeply at his words. Maybe I should have explained everything more clearly instead of just relying on the note. Despite the inconvenience, all the details are laid out in that note. I thought you'd understand it if you read it. I'm calling because I still don't get it, even after reading. I'll break it down for you. Besides the mortgage on the house, there are the renovation costs for your parents' home that you chose, the personal loan for your father's medical expenses, the business loan for your venture, and the credit card debt you accrued, all under your name. If there were only a mortgage, I could have managed that, but there's much more. If you have doubts, you can verify it. I helped because I was your wife, but now that we're not, it's no longer my concern. I told you when I left that there's a monthly payment of $5,000. You must think this is a joke. You spent money like it was nothing. Did you ever consider these payments? Well, you'll have to deal with it with your new girlfriend. That's why you divorced me, right? Actually, she broke up with me. She said $5,000 a month is too much. I figured as much. It's understandable. Even someone with a high income would rarely agree to take on a $5,000 monthly payment for debts they didn't incur. No one wants to pay 10 times the value of a house over many years. Did you really earn that much after changing jobs? Yes, my salary increased fivefold after changing jobs, but all that income went straight to repayments. I didn't realize you were making so much. I wouldn't have suggested divorce if I had known. It's not that you didn't know, you just weren't interested. After I switched jobs, you never asked about my work or my salary. You should have brought it up yourself. You never discussed your income either, even when we worked together. You barely communicated. Once you went independent and had little to no income, yet continued to spend recklessly, I figured it was pointless to bring it up. Let's start over. Come back. I refuse. I've finally achieved my freedom. Then what about the payments? $5,000 a month is unmanageable. Sell the house and use your income to pay off the remaining debt. You might be able to handle it if you adjust the repayment plan. Why not continue with the payments? I have no involvement with you anymore. I'm not interested in a stranger's debts. You're incredibly cold. Don't you have any empathy? I may seem cold, but I've been making substantial payments for over 6 years. Part of it was out of love for you, and part of it was because I felt obligated to your parents. If you wanted to come back, it might have been different. But you chose the divorce on your own. Technically, I have the right to sell the house, divide the assets, and even claim alimony for adultery. But I wanted to sever ties with you before dealing with that. I'm done with someone who turns their own money into a facade of wealth and squanders everything. I'm exhausted from covering your reckless debts. My life is my own now. Don't involve me in it any further. With that, I ended the call. Mike ceased to interfere in my life after that. The relief I felt when everything was finally settled was immense. Later, I learned that Mike had to give up his job and the house and create a new repayment plan for the loans. Returning to his previous job under the scrutiny of others must have been uncomfortable. Despite this, he would continue to be burdened by loan payments. I'd also heard that his parents decided to sell their house and move to a retirement home. It saddened me to think they wouldn't have faced such a choice if we hadn't divorced. I assisted with their move and contributed financially to their entry fees as a way to repay the kindness they had shown me. I hope they can now enjoy a peaceful life without the strain of $5,000 monthly payments. I can live comfortably by being naturally frugal, and my savings have steadily increased. I'm also looking into investing to secure my financial future. Currently, I'm moving forward with a new partner I met after my divorce, and I'm enjoying fulfilling days both professionally and personally.